I come to you not to lecture, but to listen. To truly hear your experiences as Kenyans building lives far from home. Many of you carry heavy burdens, rising cost of living, high remittance fees, new taxes, and the constant pressure of supporting families back home while managing your own lives abroad. Yet, despite these challenges, you continue to show up for Kenya. Today, over 4 million Kenyans in the diaspora contribute more than, will you believe it, 1.1 trillion shillings annually in remittances. That is more than what Kenya earns from tea, from tourism, and coffee combined. These are not just transfers of money. This is nation building. In just the last 2 years alone, over 400,000 Kenyans left home seeking opportunities abroad. Your sacrifices fuel our economy, but they also come at a personal cost. Tonight, I want to hear from you. What hurdles do you face sending money home securely and affordably? What barriers stop you from investing confidently in Kenya? Where have systems failed you? And as a government in waiting, what do you demand from your leaders? Your voices will guide how we shape real reforms under the Okombozi movement. Many of you want to invest back home, and you heard something biashara, in real estate, building bridges, in real estate, in health and education, in agribusiness and entrepreneurship. But often you face complicated processes, unreliable information, corruption and broken trust, fear of scams or land disputes. You buy one land, a piece of land, and you go home and find it subject to dispute. You want your hard-earned money to build lasting impact, not disappear into consumption of failed systems. The incoming administration must create, I dare suggest, safe and transparent investment channels, reliable diaspora investments desks. Because when we pushed hard last time, William Ruto's administration at least have a diaspora. Musalia Mudavadi is supposed to be Minister for Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, following the example of what I think the Senegalese, because the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Senegal bears that title, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese abroad, because they recognize the importance of the diaspora from the West African region. The same administration, we want to suggest will create clear property and business protections. You know, we have the Foreign Investment Protections Act, because some of you may want to qualify under that. Structures pathways to deploy your skills and capital. Then Kenya cannot grow without fully unlocking economic power. You are an economic power. Some of the most painful stories in recent months have come from Kenyans caught in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Young people left home believing they were traveling for legitimate jobs, processed through agencies that appeared official, only to find themselves deployed into active war zones. Some never returned. Others remained stranded, pleading with the same government that facilitated their travel to rescue them. And have we not heard of sex slave trade in the Gulf countries? What a country like Philippines does, how do the Filipinos abroad actually do higher remittances than Kenyans? But theirs is very structured. They will work as domestic workers, some of them, yes, but very structured. You do not have a Minister of Labor like we have in Kenya, which is part of the cartel-making machine. Have we not heard even some BBC expose that highlighted that even the first family themselves are involved in slave labor? That is not what we're saying, Kenyans seeking opportunities abroad. That's a different category. But if you fly the Emirates or Qatar Airways, I was flown by Captain Cobb Kibet on my way from here. Not Kibet, Farouk Kibet, another Kibet, between Nairobi and Dubai. And you have lots of, at that level, very highly trained Kenyan who serve in the tourism industry and in the air aviation industry. But these others, particularly the ones who fall victim, are single mothers. Single mothers. And these are category that Raila and Mother Karua, that time as I supported them, we were saying we'll make sure the jobless in Kenya will get at least 6,000 shillings per month, rather than sending them to serve as sex workers abroad. Well, and of course other Kenyans across different regions have faced the following: passport confiscation, exploitative labor conditions I've just highlighted, deception by recruitment agencies. Did you not hear that one time about 10,000 Kenyans turned up for interviews to go to work abroad? It was a scam. Abandonment when things go wrong. These are not isolated incidents, they are warning signs. Let me be clear. The first duty of leadership is to protect its people wherever they are in the world. Our Constitution guarantees your rights. The Vienna Convention obligates consular protection. I'm not even sure whether the Kenyan ambassador here knows you're here. The Kenya signed the Global Compact on Migration. The AU recognizes the diaspora as Africa's 6th region. Yes. The whole of the African Union recognizes that. Yet, our protection systems remain fragmented or absent. Under our leadership, or shall I say my leadership, no Kenyan should leave home seeking opportunity and end up unprotected in a foreign land, or worse, in a foreign war. Every Kenyan abroad must know that their country stands behind them. Their dignity matters. Their lives are not expendable. Protection must be real and felt, not theoretical. And it must be shaped by your lived experiences, not designed in offices back home. Your voice in Kenya's present and future. I want to really do a little bit on that. Living abroad does not reduce your belonging to Kenya. You contribute through remittances, skills, knowledge, and networks, yet many feel excluded from shaping the nation. Overseas voting remains difficult, and Senator Manzo really highlighted. And when some of you came home to lobby the speakers and other leaders, this issue became very clear. Because if you say voting stations will begin, what time do we go out to vote, Ellen Letty? From 6 a.m. You say from 6 a.m. and you say that is generally applicable. When we are voting at 6 a.m. in Kadiani, what time is it here? 6 a.m. in Kadiani. 6:30 in the evening. 6 p.m. 10 p.m. at night. Can you imagine? Something so simple. Right now you should be voting. Can you imagine? So some of those things need to be synchronized, right? Because of the difficulty, the fact that you have to travel say from the west, is it the eastern coast of the United States to come and vote in Washington, D.C.? It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Therefore, in 2022, how many people showed up to vote?
128 of the U.S. and Mexico.
128.
Only.
The total number of all people
I was one
from
of them.
Dubai, wherever they had highlighted would come to vote, were less than 2,000. About 2,000. That's a joke. And yet we know that there are approximately 2 million who are capable. And you can imagine what that would mean if 2 million Kenyans in the diaspora voted.
For you.
Well, thank you so much. Right? So, as of course I've just highlighted that voting is difficult. Governance failures affect your families daily, even as you sit here. Corruption erodes your confidence in your own country. Your patriotism obviously is undeniable. Under incoming Ukombozi administration, diaspora participation in democracy, in policy and development will not be symbolic. It will be meaningful. We will strengthen overseas voting mechanisms. We will also look at diaspora representation in real terms, improve it, skills mapping and deployment, structured engagement in national development. You are not outsiders. You are our partners, to those at home. And then I want to say from policy to action. Kenya already has frameworks. Vision 2030. We have about 4 more years. What we are doing is putting together our teams, economic teams, to be able to see it, because this is what one of the flagship projects under President Kibaki and as Madam Dr. Trofena,
Yes.
as she pointed out, the Kibaki administration, which I had the honor to serve in, really, now William Ruto said you do everything, all those things. But Kenyans remember one thing. They had money in their pockets.
Yes, that's true.
What Ruto has done is taken out that money. Right?
Too much.
So we will see what we can do with remaining 4 years to Vision 2030 and then improve on it.
Yes.
The AU talks about Agenda 2063. Well, you know what we had in mind? That by 2030, Kenya will have reached the status of a medium income country in the world, with Kenyans enjoying very high standards of living, high quality living. But instead, now we have reduced. This William Ruto administration has actually brought about so much poverty. And it's written in the faces of Kenyans, desperation, despair, instead of moving towards 2030. Now he comes up and says, Kenya will take Kenyans to Singapore. Can you imagine? You people sitting here in Washington, hearing your leader saying, you will take your people to Singapore.
You want to go to Kenya?
Not even in Kenya. And first of all, he forgets that there is sovereign equality of nations. You want to be proud of who you are.
Yes.
And then build on it. Now, of course you're saying that Singapore, and of course Singapore, as himself and Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew, those of you who have read his book, will know that he tolerated those who are economic saboteurs were killed.
Yes.
He could not tolerate stealing of public resources. Others were actually committing suicide. When he didn't kill, most of them committed suicide because they were exposed. You know, until we get to the situation where Kenyans believe that anything stolen is evil, we will not fight, we will not win this war against corruption. I'm telling you, we are nearly there. We are nearly there. And of course, there are some other international agreements, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. William Ruto has no idea about those. But what was even more interesting was Dr. Oburu saying, yes, we will get to Canaan, as Raila Odinga used to say, and us. He said, we will take our people to Canaan. That was proverbial Canaan. So Oburu says, we'll go to Canaan, all right, but via Singapore. So our leadership has become a joke. So, what of course the country lacks is also execution. The time for declarations is long gone. We will once in office, will act to establish comprehensive diaspora protection mechanisms, reduce remittances cost to below 3%, strengthen consular services so that you own. You see, now this is the time for economic diplomacy, not people sitting in. The days when I was foreign minister, we used to transmit things through the diplomatic bag. That is a kike. There's nothing now secretive about what is happening. See what Donald Trump is saying, bringing resources back, getting people to invest in America, which is already a first world country. Now, we have to learn some of these lessons and act in the best interest of our people. We'll also complete diaspora skills mapping so that we can use you effectively at home. We also create trusted investment platforms, such as what you're already trying to work on. I heard your colleague here say a diaspora bank, and I think you've been corrected. We need to look at that. This is time to run, not to begin to beat about the bush anymore.
No.
We will also enable you full political participation. Your community invests in Kenya every day. Remember the Western Union. Western Union and Kisii community, particularly in Minnesota, very aggressive. They send so much money to Kisii every week. But M-Pesa is trying to catch up with them as well. That is a Kenyan invention, the M-Pesa. And to hear that they have actually sold out the interest, public interest, to Vodafone without proper consultation is a crime. We're already going to court, as you heard us say. Just like we went to court to protect the JKI, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, which had been sold off to the Adani Group. The Adani Group are actually facing indictment in the United States. So, then the title, Building a Shared Path Forward Together. And as I said, tonight is really about talking about partnership and listening to you. From mental health strains to navigating scams, from mentoring young talent to channeling expertise home, your priorities surely do matter. Let us commit to dialogue that is continuous, honest, and impactful. Let me leave you with this thought. Our diaspora has never failed Kenya. Kenya must never fail our diaspora. That is the promise. I give you that pledge. That is the promise of the incoming Ukombozi administration. And together, we will build a nation anchored in dignity, opportunity, justice, and shared prosperity. Let me add, because I wanted to place that on record, let me add that, as my colleagues have shared with you, we have to make a decision and really determine. As Obama once said, to be the change that you want to be.
That's true.
Our country has suffered enough.
Yes.
Misrule. Right now, we are a gangster nation. Can you imagine the police are escorting goons to go and kill and fight young people? You must have seen Governor Sakaja, for example, in June last year, during the first anniversary of the Gen Z revolt, saying nobody is going to demonstrate in Nairobi. And it was shown clearly on CNN, on Al Jazeera, marooning gangs. Of course paid. They paid 3,500 to show up. That is how cheap we have become. We are paying goons to hurt each other. And the duty of the police is to protect every Kenyan. The right to demonstrate is clearly defined and protected clearly under Article 37 of our Constitution. We'll all remember President Kibaki for having given us a proper heritage document, the Constitution. And yet we are a country with a Constitution, but we are not we have not internalized constitutionalism. So we will do everything. Believe you me, I want to ask you directly to come out and support us and support this cause. Again, Madam Dr. Choti said, and that is a spirit, that she can even imagine sell her dress. That's what, if I heard correctly. Even the clothes you are wearing, you're prepared. That is total commitment.
That's right.
And that is the revolution that we are talking about. Please come out. Come out.